Thank you. Thanks everybody for being here. I hope that wonderful meal doesn't put everybody to sleep while we're talking up here, but I understand if it does. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional land of the Fort William First Nation and allowing us to be here today to share what we do in Nawash. I don't want to come across in this presentation as saying that you have to do it our way. This is just what has worked in our community. I know that there are a lot of passionate people in this room in the area of First Nation housing, and it really warms my heart to understand that you guys are so committed to what you do. And you know, as a housing manager, I know the task that you're up against can seem insurmountable on days, but what drives me is the children of my community and being able to really impact their lives positively. And I know that the majority of the people in the room are here because of that. So it really inspires me to do better in my work. So thank you for being here, and we're going to explain a little bit about what we do. Chippewas of Nawash Unceded First Nation is in the Nayash Reserve. We're located on the Saugeen Peninsula, where our land base is 63 kilometers square. We're about 820 members in community and about 2,900 in our band total. So we have quite a need for housing in our community, no different than anyone else in this room. We experience overcrowding, mold, unsafe conditions. So we're looking to really change that reality in our community, and this is one of the ways that we've decided to tackle that hurdle.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a real privilege to be here today to speak to you and share with Shane our partnership. Sitting next to me is Frank Horn from CMHC. He's here to answer any questions about the funding that CMHC is able to provide to First Nations through Section 95. And also with us today is Carolyn Gent in the back. Carolyn, raise your hand. Carolyn's our Housing Partnership Manager. She's splitting her time with Chippewa Nawash and Habitat, our affiliate, and helping us with our housing program. And right now we're entering into family selection. So Carolyn's taking a lead on that and other projects. And also in the room is Lana Vukovic. Lana's sitting at the front here. She's the CEO of Habitat Thunder Bay. And it's great to have Lana here to learn about our partnership that can be replicated, we believe, not only in Ontario, but right across the country. And there's interest growing in our partnership right across Canada, and we're excited about that because it can be replicated. And as Shane said, you don't have to do it our way. You can tweak it to the way it can fit in your community with the local Habitat affiliate. There are 56 affiliates across Canada that work for Habitat, and each one, I think, would be eager to work with local First Nations to provide housing for member families. So our affiliate, we've been around since 1987. We've currently just built our 50th home last year, serving 91 adults, 135 children. We're really passionate about being able to provide safe, healthy, energy-efficient homes for families so that children are being raised in a warm, comfortable home that they can invite their friends into and have a stable home life with their parents. We're located just west of Owen Sound, which is on Georgian Bay, and we're about 45 minutes from Shane's community of Nayash and Ningming. Shane, you want to?
Yeah, sure. So our partnership started with some conversation in July of 2015. We invited Habitat for Humanity to come up and take a tour of our community and spend some time with some of our counselors and start that discussion. So that discussion really snowballed into what we're creating today, and it's a continual process. It's growing all the time, and it led to the signing of the MOU in 2016. We also began construction on our first unit in 2017, when we used the traditional habitat model, whereby the band member took a mortgage with the Habitat for Humanity Grey Bruce chapter, and it's a no-interest mortgage whereby the band member pays back to Habitat, and the loan is backed by our First Nation, so it gives Habitat a measure of security. It's similar to our market-based housing program in that the First Nation also backs, guarantees that loan as well. So the success of that first build led to our partnership being expanded into the construction of 4 houses in 2018. We had made application to Section 95 with CMHC, and were able to source some funding there. So we got going, and based on the success of that, we went into 2019, and we were able to source some funding through Indigenous Services Canada, and we built 6 last year. So part of our partnership, you know, the challenges we face in our community is that we didn't have a lot of pride of home ownership, and we were looking at ways to generate that. So part of our project here is that we allow the partner families to pick shingle colors, siding colors. We provide an option for stone on the front of them, so that the partner families feel a part of the process right from day one. They're involved in it's their home, and you know, in 20 years, when they're done the amortization payments on the loan, they're given the option to purchase the land and the home for $1. So it's truly a feeling that we want to generate in our community, that this is yours. The band is giving you the opportunity, but it really is yours. So that's how we really wanted to approach it. We also, in our community years ago, we negotiated a pretty controversial commercial fishing agreement around our traditional territory, which caused a lot of friction with surrounding communities. Owen Sound being one of them, because it is a major sports fishery community, created a lot of hardship there. And you know, our traditional land is, we have title and rights to that water before the sports fishery. So we saw this as an opportunity to really mend those bridges and bring outside community members into our community and experience our culture, really get to know us, rather than basing opinions on unperceived. You know, when you sit down with somebody and have lunch with them, and you work with them all day, and you get to know who they are as a person, it's pretty hard to keep your preconceived notions about that person. So we look at it as an opportunity to break down those bridges and really, you know, have an opportunity for outside community members to learn a lot about the Nawash community. And the third objective was, we wanted to create safe, healthy, affordable homes for our families. It's in my community, we had not built for 9 years. And I don't have to explain to anyone in this room what that creates in a community when you don't build houses for that long. We have quite a lot of overcrowding and some pretty poor conditions. And in Canada today, you know, there's a lot of political support for third world countries. But I can take you 3 hours from Toronto, and I can show you third world conditions in my community right now. And that's what we're trying to change, and we've got some pretty good partners around us right now, and some pretty good funding support from organizations like CMHC and Indigenous Services Canada, so we're pretty happy about that. I think we're going down the right road. So in our community, there's different pathways to home ownership, to achieving a place to live. Number one is the band managed rental units, of which we have 48 right now. they are totally booked and have long waiting lists for 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, probably no different than a lot of everybody else in this room. We have the market-based housing program. The family that has a certificate of possession in our community can apply to the Bank of Montreal, and basically the same as a mortgage in a municipality. It's the same type of process. The band, as I mentioned before, backs the loan and gives the bank security in terms of that loan will be paid back. There is the third option as well, which we built our first home through, was a family with a certificate of possession applied to Habitat for Humanity's traditional mortgage, and they were selected, and we did that first home that way. Based on the success of that and the volunteer participation in our community, we started a subdivision, and we call it the Kekignong Development, and it is designed for family occupation. Chief and Council wanted to make sure that our greatest need, which was our young people, our children, were taken care of first. Not to diminish the need in other areas, but we really wanted to focus on the kids first. So the band had created this subdivision, and we contract Habitat for Humanity for construction of the homes. And through that process, Greg and Habitat for Humanity, Grey Bruce, bring a wealth of connections through building supplies, through volunteer participation. It allows us to stretch our funding dollars further. We can build more houses through this process. And you know yourselves in this room how hard funding is to get. And if we can make those dollars go further and we can build more houses, I think that's all of our goal. So, yeah.
So in family selection, the band adopted a Habitat process and criteria for selecting families. We have 3 main criteria for selecting families in our Habitat program. And so it's need, so a demonstrated need. Families have to have a demonstrated need for affordable housing. So it could be overcrowded conditions, unhealthy or unsafe housing, or rent is not affordable. And that could be part of the need that they have. The need to have ability to pay and pay a mortgage to Habitat, or in the case with our program with Chippewa and Nawash, a rent. And we'll explain the model we're using there. But have an ability to pay, so they have an income. And then thirdly, they have a willingness to partner with the band and with Habitat. And the big component of that is what we call volunteer time or sweat equity. So each family is required to contribute 500 hours of volunteer work building their home or their future neighbor's home during the course of construction. Shane will not hand over keys to any family until they've completed their hours, their volunteer hours, the 500. And with that, they can include family and friends to help reach the 500 hours. And we also count the time that they spend with our staff going through a home ownership workshop sessions. And we'll explain about those in a little while. So that's our 3 main criteria that are part of the MOU. And then I'm going to turn it over, Shane's going to then explain the process from there, but we do an intake, and our staff at Habitat have helped with the intake, reviewing the applications as they come in, ensuring the applications are complete. And then once the applications intake has been done, we hand the files over to Shane and his committee.
So what happens, if you know my community at all, you'd know that Chicanos are a huge family. There's 14 brothers and sisters in my father's family, so we were very aware of not creating an opportunity whereby the Chicanos get all the houses. So we created an anonymous scoring system. And what that is, we thought it was the most fairest way to gauge the need, and it doesn't matter who you are, who you're related to. If you have need and you score high on the application, you're going to get a home. And so how it works is I take the application in, I score it, I number it, and that number, all those applications go numbered to our housing committee. The housing committee makes those selections for those homes for that year. That is then sent to chief and council where it's ratified, and it stays anonymous, it stays numbers. And until we have our dedication ceremony in the spring, the morning of that dedication ceremony, I give the chief the letter with the family's names. And he doesn't know whose names are in that envelope until he opens it. And that's when the first time that chief and council become aware, the housing committee becomes aware. The only one in the community that knows who they are is me, and I'm not part of the selection process. So it was the fairest way that we could think of to try and get the homes and the people who need it most.
We're going to pause there. Does anyone have any questions for us at this point? All right.
We're doing a great job
Must
then.
be,
Wow.
yeah. Or yours. Oh, one back there. Yeah, go ahead.
Shane,
Yes.
in your process, you're the one in charge of taking the applications and then numbering them. Do you touch that at all before the decisions are made, or does it come back to you with the decision and then you just draft the letter?
Exactly. Once I've numbered them and I forward them on to the committee, that's the end of my involvement. And when I get the numbers back, then I attach the names to it afterwards. So the selection has already been made. Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to the construction. So the Chippewa Nawash was responsible for site development. As Shane noted, it's a new housing development, KK Canaan Crescent, and 25 acres developed for 18 building lots, and there'll also be a community playground for the children. And so Shane was responsible for getting engineers and so on, a plan done, and getting the site ready, the road put in, all the services brought in. And then our responsibility at Habitat was to actually build the homes. House design was using Habitat guidelines. So we have guidelines for ensuring that we build modest homes. We're not over housing families, nor are we using high-end materials. They're durable materials, but we're not making fancy homes. And it also fits with CMHC criteria as well. And we take what we call a family-centric approach. So even though we Shane will say we want so many 3-bedroom homes and 4-bedroom homes. We then sit down with the families and say, do you have any accessible needs or special needs that we need to take into consideration in designing the homes? And we did with one family last year with a child a year and a half old that had some special needs. So we added some special features into that home that she required to make the home comfortable for her to raise her child and the rest of her children in. So we take that approach, and we follow the National Building Code standards in our homes, and as well, as far as insulation, we go above code for insulation on the slab the insulation on the slab, exterior walls, and attic. Our blow-in is at R70 value. The homes are inspected by Ontario First Nation Technical Services inspectors. Nathan, who's in the back there, comes up and inspects our homes and ensures that they're being built to quality and to code. And as well, we have a home warranty program that we use, and so homes have a full warranty on them. We follow the Ontario Tarium program. It's a provincial program, but we just adopt it for the homes at Chippewa. As I mentioned, the installation, so energy efficiencies, also Energy Star rated windows and doors are used. So what we're trying to do is bring the heating cost down as much as we can so it's affordable for the families to run their homes with their utilities. We organized volunteers and the contractors last year on our 6th house build. We had over 600 volunteers that we hosted, including 3 global village teams. This is a Habitat Canada program where volunteers across Canada and some from the U.S. Came to Nawash and Ningming to help volunteer for a week at a time to build the homes. And as part of the bridging the communities as well, and they came and swung hammers with us and with our core volunteers and volunteers from the community as well as the families. And I forget how many hours they contributed, but it's a big number of hours that were done. That's how we bring the cost, and we use volunteer labor. So we organize the volunteers, we host them, provide meals for them, coffee and snacks during the day, and we hire contractors. We also provide skills training. So each of our builds at Habitat is a classroom for the trades. And we had young adults on our site in the last couple of years who came to learn about carpentry and some electrical and plumbing, and learn the process of building a home. And so they have those skills that we hope will spark an interest in them getting formal training in the trades that they can then turn into having a job down the road or a career in the trades. We take out insurance on each of the homes in our builds, as we do in all of our construction projects. And as I mentioned, we have a home warranty. The homes have a warranty program. We start with, before the families move in, we do a pre-delivery inspection with Shane and his staff and the families. We note any deficiencies and we complete those deficiencies. We're responsible for doing that. And if there's any problems within the first year, we're responsible for taking care of those. And I think it's 6 years for foundation issues. We come in and correct those if there are any. As Shane mentioned earlier, we allow the families to select the finishing features, and so they're, again, taking ownership of, hey, this is my home. And so vinyl siding color and stone on the exterior front. We also have an option to have the siding go not only horizontally but also vertically, like a board and batten style with stone underneath, and shingle color. And then also on the interior finishes, families select the cabinetry color, hardware, the flooring color and style, and paint. We do one color of paint for the whole home. And then also in our program, we provide 4 brand new Whirlpool appliances, fridge, stove, washer, and dryer. Shane, do you want to take this slide?
Yeah, so part of our contract, Chippewas and Nawash Unceded First Nation makes application to whatever funding agencies that are available. And the first phase of Kekignung was through Section 95. Our pilot project was very well received. As Greg mentioned, it's been stirring a lot of interest, not only in Ontario, but across the country. So we're pretty proud of that. Last year, ISK was able to be involved and financed our 6 units. We were very happy to have them as our funding partner last year. So how it works, Habitat for Humanity prepares a quote, the cost of construction, you know, and the soft cost, the contingencies, all of that is wrapped up at the beginning before we make our applications. Once we are approved, we then go to the contract and get it signed and ratified by Chief and Council and Habitat for Humanity. We have a 4 scheduled payment process that we follow throughout the build. So there's just the 4 payments. It's very simple. We also adapted what we call our rent-to-own model. So with that, we loosely followed a lot of Habitat for Humanity's criteria, and we adapted that criteria to fit our community, much the same as I would advise you to, you know, take what you like out of this presentation and adapt it to your community, because I don't know your community. You know your community better than me. You know what works, what doesn't work, and I'm not here to tell you that this is going to work this exact way in your community, but we just want to share this information with you so that you can take what you need, and we're happy to have you. Anyone in this room, you're welcome to come to Nawash and Ningming, see the development. We're more than willing to share any information with you. My chief and council has been very clear in that the success of this model should be shared with First Nations across the country. And if we can help other First Nations be successful in that, that's what we're going to do. So.
We're going to pause for any questions on financing or construction. Because again, Frank is here to ask questions or answer questions about Section 95.
Would there be, so I hear about the construction projects, would there be a partnership or can that be a consideration for renovation projects in the community?
We would consider that, yeah. Mhm.
And the other question I have is, so you indicated that the houses are built on a national building code standards. Several communities follow Ontario building code, so would there also be a possibility of the building following the Ontario building code?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we follow the Ontario Building Code with our other home construction.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah.
thank you.
In our community, Ashita, we follow NBC, and that's
Okay,
the
so whatever
standard that we
code-
build to.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thanks.
But that would be, up to each community, however they do
However
it.
they want to do
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should pass the mic.
Conrad Baumgartner, Natural Resources Canada. Just wondering, can you just give us a quick description of the type of HVAC systems you're installing? I'm really interested in regard to your furnaces, hot water heaters, what you typically use, and also wood stoves. That would be the first question. The second one is, what kind of window systems? Are you doing dual pane, triple pane? And the last one, I noticed in your pamphlet you said the University of Waterloo has been assisting you. Are they doing evaluations for heat loss, so you right sizing and stuff? Are they always available to you for that? Because I'm thinking if they aren't, maybe we can help you a little bit on that, because we've got a team of energy evaluators who can look at your plans and possibly help you. But I would like to know about your HVAC systems and your window systems that you typically employ.
So typically in our units, we use propane forced air furnaces. We have hot water on-demand, propane-driven for hot water. The involvement of the University of Waterloo has been very, very well received in the community, having those students engage with our community. They went out in our community and really tried to involve our community in the design. They know that there are cultural differences between my community and an outside community, so they really tried to incorporate that into the design of the home. The first home that they were involved in has solar capacity on the roof. We're trying to create, it was a pilot project, again, funded by Indigenous Services Canada, and we're looking at how we can decrease operation and maintenance costs for these families. Because again, it's so important to Nawash to keep the money that our people are able to generate in their pockets and be able to provide for their children and their families. In our community, there's not a lot of economic opportunity. There is no, traditionally we fish, and the commercial fishery has been on a downslide in the last few years. So there is, if you don't work for the band, chances are you don't work. So any way that we can create opportunity for people to save money and keep more money in their pockets, that's exactly what we're going to do. The University of Waterloo designed this home. They entered it into a solar decathlon competition in the United States, and the Nawash model won the competition, which came with a $25,000 US prize. The University of Waterloo donated that back to our community to help with implementation costs on the solar system. Very proud to say that the solar system is functioning very well, is already creating credits back into that particular family. So we're hopeful that, as Greg mentioned earlier, that particular family has some special needs in their children. So we're hoping that we can eliminate her hydro bill for her. She's a single mother and she's raising 4 children. So we're trying to create an opportunity for her children to really succeed in life. So, yeah.
Were you here?
One more question. question.
Over here.
There, Kyle Lemire, from Canadian Human Rights. I know that the Section 95 program doesn't mean that it's a, what do you call that? Ministerial loan guarantee program necessarily, but when Section 95 housing money is accessed and Habitat Humanity holds the mortgage for the 20 years with the family, is that a way to overcome the ministerial loan guarantee issue from the small allocations that are provided?
That particular unit, that first process that we used in the first build was an application by the family to Habitat for Humanity directly. There was no involvement of CMHC or any other outside funding agency. In the first phase of the Kekignon development, we did have to get a ministerial loan guarantee through the Section 95 process. So
Okay.
there's two different processes there.
Yeah.
Okay. So could Habitat for Humanity get over the hurdle of needing a ministerial loan guarantee, potentially by being a mortgage holder with the family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we did in our pilot, our first house, where we have a mortgage with the family, we raised the money to build that house. So Chippewa and Nawash did not provide funding for that. We raised the money to build the house, and now the family's now paying a mortgage on it. So there's no ministered loan guarantee needed.
Basically, the nation backs the loan.
Yeah.
So we give Habitat the measure of security in that that particular band member had to sign back her certificate of possession to the band as security. And if they're in the case of default, the nation would repossess that particular property, put another family in that unit, and continue paying the loan.
Mortgage, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to further answer your question, where the 2018 4 units that were funded through CMHC, we provided the funding to Nawash, and they had they have the option to choose what contractor they want to use to build. And in that relationship, Habitat was the contractor to Nawash. So there's no mortgage responsibilities on those 4 units. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions? So we hold 2 celebrations, one at the very beginning, a groundbreaking ceremony, and a key ceremony at the end when the houses are finished. The keys are handed over to the families. Of course, with both ceremonies, we have lots of food, and it's a real community celebration. We invite our volunteers and our donors. We have people willing coming to donate to help us with some of the costs that are not part of the contract. So we need to raise money for tools, for instance. We acquired another tool trailer last year. So we had donors help with those costs, which means we just focus on the contract cost just on the direct construction costs of the homes. And so anyway, we come and celebrate with those donors and the volunteers, with the families, the community as a whole. And as part of that, hey, we're achieving a life-transforming event here where families are now moving into safe, healthy, affordable homes that they can raise their children, and the stress has been removed from the parents of providing a comfortable home for their children. As well, Habitat provides, and this is in our MOU as well, that we would provide a homeownership education program. And we do that with all the families that we partner with in all of our home building. And there's essentially 3 sessions, one on personal financing and budgeting. And we also meet face-to-face with families, so it's not only a group session, but also one-on-one as well if they have any issues with, they want some direct help with their finances. And secondly, we talk about wills, power of attorney, and insurance. So families are aware of those things, because now they have an asset that will be passed down to their children, so they make sure that they have a proper will in place, power of attorney. And then thirdly, we do a home maintenance. So every family, we walk them through their home, They were given a home maintenance manual with a seasonal checklist of things to look for and in their homes. And as well, if they have any concerns afterwards, our staff will come in and help them answer any questions they have. And so we show them how to change the filter in the furnace, show them where to turn the water off if they have a leak somewhere, how to turn the propane gas off, and we have pictures in the manual of all these shut-off valves. So we're training them how to look after their homes going forward. So Shane and his team aren't getting calls all the time about, oh, how do I fix this? Or my tap is leaking, or this, I smell propane.
It's one of the biggest parts of this whole process, not only the volunteer participation, these partner families that we have in the community, they are amongst the most educated homeowners in all of Nawash. They not only were a part of building their unit, they know what went into it, they know how it was built, and as Greg mentioned, they know when it's time to call the housing department. They know if it's a 5-cent washer, they know how to change it. If it's a filter on an HRV, they know how to change that. They're not calling the department to do things like that. They're so very well educated in how their home was built and how it functions. You know, the houses nowadays are built so airtight, you have to introduce that outside air mechanically. And to have that understanding of why that HRV is so important and why it has to run and why it needs to be cleaned and when it needs to be cleaned, that education piece that we provide is such an important part of the equations for our homeowners. And we're so happy that they're involved in it. So this particular picture really speaks volumes to me. This young man was one of the 6 families this year that was selected. And a little bit about me and where I grew up in this community. I was born and raised here. And where I grew up as a youngster, about that age, if you left a glass of water on the floor, when you woke up, that glass of water was frozen. So that's the type of conditions we live in. This young man will never know that. His reality has been changed. He's not only set up for success in terms of education, he has a place to go and do his homework. He has a place to have outside friends when he gets to high school that can come back and have a sleepover at his house. A lot of children in my community don't have that opportunity because grandpa and grandma sleep in my room. My uncle or my auntie sleeps on my couch, and I sleep on the floor. So this young man has been forever changed. His opportunities have just grown unbelievable. And I like to think that his reality will be forever changed, and that someday he'll come through my door and he'll take my job. And I would love for that to happen. And every day when I drive to work, what drives me is when I go past the subdivision, the school bus is at the end of the laneway, and I see we helped 17 children the first year. We helped 14 children the first year, 17 children this past year. And when I see all those little heads running out to the school bus, I know we've done something right. And just the opportunity for them to grow up in a place that's their own, they have their own space. It's going to affect so many other things socially. Our programs in our community won't be taxed by these children because they will have a different reality than some of the other children in our community. And that, to me, is what drives me. And I hope that that's a lot of your goal in this room, and I know that it is. And part of what we did by partnering with Habitat and giving my community the opportunity to really shine and get behind the cause and really show what my community is capable of. I knew what we were capable of, but we showed Greg and his team what we were truly capable of. Mm-hmm. The volunteer participation that we had in our first phase was unbelievable. I don't think Greg has ever experienced that amount of volunteer participation. Mm-hmm. And I know that it would be the same in your community if you were given the same opportunities and had that opportunity to really perform and to drive that for your young people. And that's why it's so important to me to share this message with you. And again, if you have questions, or if you want more information, or if you want to come to Nawash and you want to meet this little boy, I'll show you where he goes to get on the bus. And it's something that's very special to me, and I hold near and dear to my heart, because I know what it's like to be his age in our community.
Final opportunity for questions for any of us. Go ahead. Yeah.
Just can't keep my mouth shut. I'm very interested with regards to the question that came up earlier about retrofit. I don't know if Habitat for Humanity has done those in the past, but I would be interested in just what you could conceive as a thought of how a retrofit would look like for consideration. Like a total gut of a building or something like that. I'd just be very interested to know.
I know that there's several Habitat affiliates have they call it a handyman program, where they'll come in and do minor repairs with families. But we would be open to considering any opportunity. I know some of the handyman programs, they'll provide financing at, I think at zero interest, where the family will make payments to pay for the repair over a period of time. And the Habitat affiliate will use volunteers to help with that work, as well as staff. And so, yeah, we're open to considering any renovation that we think we can do. Yeah. Or retrofit, yeah.
Have some of that.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky enough to be working with Nawash, and it's something that I like taking the call from Shane, because he always has innovative ideas, and it's something that I always, we talk about it, and more often than not I can support it, because it's something that he's forward thinking. And one of the big things he wants to do is replicate this and share the message. He doesn't want to keep it to himself and to the community, and he has the mandate from Chief and Council to share it. And so CMHC is looking at options to replicate the information. We have conversations with our communications department to see if we can create a video, and hopefully that's shareable for other people in the room. And also, our CMHC research department has had a conversation with Nawash, and because of the energy efficiency components to these builds, and how it's going to provide a positive impact to the selected families, CMHC research is interested in that and wants to see if what kind of data we can collect to provide a report and to have that replicated as well. So there's been a lot of add-ons to this, and it's not just an isolated project. It's created a lot of spin-offs that are very positive. So CMHC is very excited to be part of this, and we want to keep moving forward and be of any assistance at moving forward. So that's my comments from a supporter to their projects, because this innovative partnership, I think, is I think it's something that's beautiful. You know, they're breaking down walls between on and off territory, and other affiliates have had the conversation with CMHC. I've been across the province and had meetings with local affiliates in different parts of Ontario, and they've heard through the Habitat Network, they've heard this, and they've started reaching out to CMHC. So we're starting to have this, and we're trying to get traction with other projects. So we want to bring this north as well, to Thunder Bay and beyond. So that's what I have to say.
That's a good point, Frank. Part of this year's build, we're going to be partnering with a Northern First Nation, KI. I won't say their name because I'll probably butcher it, but Big Trout Lake was their English name. 2 groups of young adults from that community will come to Nawash. They'll volunteer on our build for 4 weeks. We were able to source some funding through an agency affiliated with Habitat Canada. They're going to fund this training initiative. We're going to share our building techniques with those youngsters, expose them to the trades, and hopefully create some tradesmen in KI. Our eventual goal is to construct a home in KI eventually. So it's something that we're very proud of, that partnership. We're very, very proud of the partnerships that we have in this room, obviously with Habitat for Humanity, Grey Bruce, CMHC, see Siva's in the room, Indigenous Services Canada. I can't say enough about the support that we get from these organizations and how important it is to have a great relationship with your consultants and with people like Siva that are so caring and really have the community's best intentions at heart. And they care about that little boy in that picture. They really do. And Siva staff, Sandra Liu, Anna Rosen, they're wonderful people to work with. Frank is amazing. His team, it's just wonderful that when you get the right people in the room and everybody has an open mind and no one's focused on what you can't do, but what you can do. And if we all work together and we go in there with, put our guards down, and we're not here to, our relationship is a work in progress. It's not always roses. There are bumps in the road, and we overcome those and we adapt to that. And I would caution you, as you go into your relationships, go into it with an open mind and with the goal of those young children in your heart, and let your heart guide you along that road. And that's if there's one thing that you take away from today, that I would hope that it would be that. And we can help you with the logistics. We can help you with the plans. The comment about our energy efficiency. Our partnership with the University of Waterloo, this year we used triple glazed windows. We upgraded our insulation underneath our slab. We went on top of our footings. We beefed up our exterior insulation. We're trying new methods to see whether it's cost effective to, we used an air source heat pump in that particular unit. We're trying different avenues to see whether the cost outlay at the beginning translates into O&M dollars back into those partner families. We're building, our units are built with 36-inch door openings, all of them, so that down the road, we don't have to rip apart a frame that right now we can build for $200, but if we go back and rip it out and put in a 36 opening, you're spending $5,000. So we're trying to do little things like that. Our units are built 8 inches off the ground. So there's accessibility there that's very easy to accomplish as the needs of the family grow. Our lots are almost 1 acre lots. We built them that way so that should the need arise for grandpa and grandma to have a home or an addition to that home, there's space there to accommodate that. There's space on the lawn for gardens. There's space in the front lawn for the kids to play. We tried to be as forward-thinking as we could with these units and this development. So if there's anything that we can do to help you in your community, I'm not here telling you what we do is the best, but what I can do is share what we've done, and you tell me if it works in your community. So thank you for being here. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you, and hopefully I see you sometime soon. Miigwech.
Can I just add one quick thing? So in 2019, Siva and his team funded the construction of 6 units, but Shane was nice enough to invite CMHC to the key ceremony, and we saw the 6 families that received the keys. And what I thought was just going to be Nawash, Habitat, and ISK at a table. I realized this is it's much more than that. There were a lot of other partners. It took a literal village to build those 6 units, and everybody was there for the celebration. And you realize everybody was there for the right reason and for the reasons of those families. It's not just the funders and the construction and the First Nations. There were the Real Estate Association. There were other funders from Owen Sound and area that were part of this, furniture, what have you. And it made me realize that once there's something that is worth putting yourself behind, it's an easy sell, and a lot of people get behind it. So if you can replicate it in your area, I would recommend you try and look at it. And as Shane is more than welcome to share his information. Or talk to your local CMHC rep or your local Habitat office as well. Thank you.